story to tell you that's about 20 years old. About 20 years ago. We've been doing a radio show for a long time, Robin.
Yes, we have.
About 20 years ago, Robin and I were approached by the Polaroid camera company, and they had this idea to hook up with a radio station in each town, and they chose the one we were at at that time. And they said they would send us a few Polaroid cameras and a load of Polaroid film and these little things so we could have the child care thing. So children, and then we had to organize with some public place like a library.
Yep, our public library.
So long story short, we did. We teamed up with the library. We made all these announcements, and children and parents came in, and we were taking their pictures and giving the pictures to the children with their fingerprints, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Wonderful campaign, successful campaign, and we felt really good and really tired at the end of the day.
Yeah, it was great.
All right. But we were left with these Polaroid cameras and a whole load of Polaroid film.
Yeah.
Now, if you remember, it wasn't the best quality picture, right?
Right.
So back in those days, Silver State Park now was the Silver Springs attraction. Mm-hmm. And back in those days, they had bears, they had giraffes, they had goats, they had, who knows, alligators, otters. I don't know what they had in there.
Yeah, they had everything.
All these animals. So 20 years ago, my son was 9. Your children were probably 11 and 12 or something like that. Okay.
Right.
And we said, let's take the children on a photo safari.
Yeah, it was fun.
And we went to Silver Springs with these cameras and all of this film. And nowadays with memory cards or whatever you call them, you can take as many pictures as you want. Mm-hmm. But back then you had to be real careful. But I remember saying to the kids, don't worry about the film. We got plenty of film.
That's right. They had a field
And the
day.
kids had such a great time taking pictures.
Yeah, they each had their own camera.
It was our way of living the life sort of kind of that our next guest has lived for real. We went to a park. She actually went out into the wild. She went and she took some unbelievable pictures. The cover itself is just beautiful. The book I'm talking about is called Wild Among Us. It is written by our guest, Pat Toth-Smith. I wish we had more. Oh, we do have more time to talk. Oh, I thought it was a short interview. It's a long interview.
Yes,
Good. Pat Toth-Smith is on the phone. She is a leading master wildlife photographer. She's the featured artist in Wildlife Art Magazine. She's the guest artist at the Al-Wahi Hotel in Yosemite National Park. She's an award-winning photographic anthologist, a mentor. And I don't know if she ever went to a theme park with a Polaroid camera. I don't know what got her started with this, but she clearly has mastered it. Good morning, Pat Toth-Smith. Good morning, Pat.
Good morning. Thank you guys for having me on. And no, I never did go to
You never did that?
the Polaroid camera.
Well, how did you get? So you look too young. You probably don't remember those cameras. So how did this start for you? Look at these beautiful pictures.
Oh, well, thank you. Actually, I do remember film and Polaroid because that's how I started out. But I actually started out, many, many years ago. I was a nurse and decided to make a career transition to photography, and I went back to college for it. So I was actually trained in college to do photography, and back then it was film. So that was my start.
Did you have a gigantic long lens? See, with these cameras, we had to get right up to the bear. I mean,
right to the animal.
I mean, you really had to say, "Come here, bear, bear, come here to the fence, and we'll take your picture."
Yeah.
Yeah.
No. I have very, very long lenses. I have a 500 that I use pretty extensively. But I kind of worked my way into this too. It really wasn't until Yellowstone National Park that I actually got excited about wildlife. I had been a photographer, and I had gone there during the rut. A time when large horned animals were fighting with each other for the chance to mate, and there was these 2 moose that were just fighting, and I could remember the crashing in the horns and the visible aggression, and it was so exciting. I couldn't sleep that night, and I got up early, and I went out before the sun came up, and I managed to find a moose way in the distance, and it was then and there that I decided I would make a career wildlife work, and so I had to get the lens to do the job.
Oh, wow. So two male mooses were fighting so they could have the right to have sex with the female? See, I wish this was true for humans. See, Here's what this would work. Let me say why this would work. You know why this would work? Because if you're the loser, at least you had a good fight, and they don't kill each other, right?
No, they don't kill each other.
They don't kill each other. So, I mean, at least if I was the loser, all right, at least I had a good workout.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Somebody would feel sorry for you.
Somebody would feel sorry for me.
Yeah, you see that.
It's the
Everybody.
story of my life.
You might get the pity mate.
Oh, man.
Yeah, that's right.
I want to be the conqueror. I don't want to be the pity mate. The pity mate. It's the next book. By the way, I have an idea for you. Are you ready for my idea?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Look at this beautiful picture of this eagle here. You got the eagle in flight.
Yeah, it's amazing.
That was hard. Oh, thank you. Yeah.
How did you do that one? Were you up in a tree? I mean, you look like...
Well, eagles are extremely hard to photograph because they have such good vision, and I've tried to sneak up on them and it didn't work. But this was actually on a raft, and it was kind of a raging river, and I had this really strong river guide who he told me, bring your big equipment, I'll stop the raft for you, and he literally did. He stopped the raft mid flowing river, and I was able to get
Really? Weren't you worried that the cameras would get wet and all that?
I was on a rubber raft, and my tripod was sinking into the bottom. And I had my big lenses, and and I thought, you're crazy, you're really crazy. But look at what happened from it. So
wow.
it was worth it, and my camera was safe and all.
So I have an idea for you. You know who we need you to jump on board with? Right now in the state of Florida, they just approved the hunting of bear because they said we have too many bears.
Yeah.
So we don't like this idea.
No.
Now we're not.
Yeah, well, it's a bad idea.
Thank you.
So we have a lot of people who disagree with us, but I think if people could see these beautiful pictures of these bears, how close did you get to these bears when you took these pictures?
Well, I'm pretty far away for the most part, but black bears are very skittish animals. This is interesting because bears can climb trees well into their adulthood. Black bears, whereas a grizzly loses the ability to climb a tree. So bears, black bears especially, will climb trees to get away from predators. So they're not as aggressive as other animals, and so bears will traditionally do that. They'll climb a tree to get away from a predator, and so they're not a very aggressive animal. And what's hard, and I'm going to say this, and people may not like it, but when you hunt an animal like a bear, they can become aggressive, and that would be my biggest worry about hunting bears, because moose is an animal that's hunted wildly, and they are very aggressive animals. I've had
really?
experiences with moose can chase you down and do kind of awful things, but it changes an animal's behavior if it's been shot at, and missed, and then it could start to be more aggressive. So I'm not for bear hunting as a way to control the animals. I think there's many other ways.
I have an advantage over the listeners. I can look at the pictures, but let me just tell you, these are beautiful pictures. Right now I'm looking at the one. It's titled Gray Wolf, and there's a little bit of snow on his nose, or her nose, whatever it is. His? How do you? I can't tell.
Snow.
But so you were out in the snow?
Well, wolves are very hard to find. They're one of the hardest animals to photograph and find. And in Yellowstone National Park, the best time to see them is in winter because their dark coats show up against the snow. And so that's the time when I go, which, of course, Yellowstone is so cold in the winter.
Right.
They have many degrees below zero there. And so, and it was actually a young wolf. He had made a kill and was crossing the road to get to the kill site. And we stumbled onto each other, and I literally had 2 minutes to get that photograph, and then he moved on. And I can tell you they're a big animal.
Oh, wow.
Do you have a bodyguard when you go out, just in case, just in case you start getting attacked from your blind side by another animal?
Well, it's interesting because I do carry pepper spray. I'm by myself. 99% of the time I'm by myself. Yeah, There's very few instances that I'm with other people.
Pepper spray.
I carry pepper spray. I carry a body alarm. And actually, in Alaska, they have this industrial strength pepper spray. It's like a big canister, almost
Really?
Like mace.
Really?
Like a shaving cream.
Do you know what I'm
canister
picturing?
pepper spray that you-
Okay, once upon a time, I actually tried to jog in the mornings, and so there was a dog that would always be like running at my ankles. and my brother, who's a veterinarian who loves animals, said, well, Larry, get a squirt gun, fill it with a 50-50 mixture of water and ammonia, and when the dog comes at you, squirt him in the eyes. It won't hurt him. It'll just sting his eyes, and he'll leave you alone. I said, great idea, Bill. So I'm out in the morning now, and I'm running. Here comes the dog. He's a little dog. He was a cute dog, but I was afraid, he was going to.
Well, little dogs.
And I was afraid he was going to run into traffic too, because he wasn't kept behind any fence. So I was thinking about him as well as me. So anyway, here comes the dog. Right? I squirt him in the eyes. You know what he did? He squinted his eyes and kept chasing me.
His nose still worked.
Yeah, his mouth. The only thing he started squinting.
But he was foaming, right?
I love the photographs of the horses. Those are really outstanding.
Oh, well, thank you. Yeah, I was so fortunate because, there's a lot of horses out west. I live in California, so we have Nevada right next to us with just a lot of wild horses. And, that was something I focused on for about a year. And I tell you, it's amazing to see these horses in the wild. And, they're very protective of their young. The stallion he kept, patrolling the perimeter. And he would let me know when I would get too close to this little harem of horses that I found in Nevada. And so I would back away, and then he'd be fine with me. But it's kind of amazing to see all these wild horses out there. They're just beautiful animals.
These are really pretty pictures. Look at this one silhouette of the moose in the beginning. Moose in the mist.
Yeah, that's gorgeous.
It is art. Photography is art. Don't you think?
I do.
It is. Yeah, it's definitely art, and that's really my focus has been, on selling in the art markets, and that's what I do sell in the art markets.
So I have another story to tell you, Pat. Listen to this one. This is an old man I knew. He was the neighbor of my mom and dad. He lived in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Not at the time. At the time I knew him, he was here in Florida. But at the time he was telling me a story, and he always wanted to hunt deer with a bow and arrow. And his wife didn't really want him to do it. So he promised her, well, as soon as I get one, I will stop doing it. I just want to do it one time. So he goes out into the mountains around Albuquerque, and the first year he gets nothing. The second year he gets nothing. The third year he gets his first deer. Okay. In the process of doing this, he falls in love with the process. Okay? He goes back to his wife. He says, I know I made you a promise I wouldn't keep doing it, and I'm going to keep the promise, but I'm going to trade in my bow and arrow for a camera. And so he loved going out there. He loved being in the mountains. He loved being where he was. And now he's hunting animals to take pictures of them. And he showed me, and this was probably 10 or 15 years ago, and he had a stack. Remember those carousel slide things?
Yes.
With the Kodak carousel projector, whatever they call it, the slide projector.
The slide.
He had stacks and stacks of them, and of course, he said they were all filled with pictures of animals. So are you in love with the process of being out there in the wild and the sun coming up and the mist on the water and all that?
I absolutely am, and it's kind of amazing because I do feel like nature is very healing to your soul. And seeing wildlife, I still get even now I've seen probably over 100 bears in the wild. I still get very excited to see a bear, and it's hard to explain it because these animals are so large, and they live within our communities. They live in the mountains, and it's amazing to me that we all are able to live together like this. And so no, it is definitely like that for me too. I get a lot out of being out there. I get a lot out of, finding that particular animal, especially an animal that, I've focused on for years and not been able to get that shot. And when I finally get that shot, it just feels so great to know you've accomplished something you've worked so hard at. So yeah, I definitely get a lot out of it. And I do want to add to your other story about the dog. I'm afraid of domestic dogs too. When I hike it, when I didn't get a chance to tell you that, but I've had some of my most terrifying moments when a dog has run up to me, and been growling and snapping, and I think, my goodness.
Yeah. Well, maybe we did that as humans. Look at this picture, catch of the day. It's a bear catching a fish head on. It must have jumped right into the bear's mouth, huh?
It did. In Katmai National Park, they have an annual salmon run, and all these bears get together. And bears are not social animals; they're definitely solitary. So they come together and tolerate each other to eat the salmon. And there's a lot of activity that goes on at Katmai, that's pretty intense. But when I'm camped there, I've had multiple experiences running into these bears, because basically you're hiking on the trails with them, and so they're everywhere. And these are large grizzly bears. Some of them can get up to 1,000 pounds. So it's pretty intense, really.
It's just amazing, isn't it? Gosh, we went over our break. Let's take the break now and be right back. Wild Among Us is the book. It's a beautiful photo journalism. What do you call it? I mean, it's not just photos. You've written a lot in here too. Pat Toth-Smith.
It's an anthology.
I like that.
Yeah.
Anthology.
My memoirs anthology.
It's most people live when they're writing a book, right? They live in the book. You've lived before the book.
Yes.
You relived it when you wrote your book.
Mm-hmm.
All right,
it's definitely my stories.
We'll be right back.
The weather is brought to you by myfwc.com. Safe boating is no accident. For today, some sunshine mixing with clouds. Watch out for a thunderstorm during the afternoon and evening hours. The high 88 to 92. Partly cloudy overnight, low 72 to 76. Times of clouds and sun tomorrow with a shower and thunderstorm or two around in the afternoon. The high 88 to 92. And for Saturday, clouds and some sun with a couple of thunderstorms mainly in the afternoon. The high 90 to 94. From the Florida Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Joe Lundberg.
The Coke Zero 400. It's where American pride meets NASCAR history. This year, you can catch a glimpse of NASCAR history yet to come, with the all-new seats and all-new views of Daytona Rising. And be sure to stick around for one of the Southeast's largest fireworks shows after the race. Kids 12 and under are $10 for the Coke Zero 400, powered by Coca-Cola. Sunday night, July 5th. New seats are selling fast. Guarantee yours now at 1-800-PIT-SHOP or DaytonaInternationalSpeedway.com.
If you're anything like I was, the thought of getting older was the last thing on your mind. But here we are. For me, it started slowly. The lack of energy, never being in the mood. And when I was, I could never perform at my best. I tried the pills and other treatments with minimal results, and all but given up on my sex life. Then I found the doctors at New Male Medical Center. Wow, they made a new male out of me. Feel like I'm 25 again. I have renewed vigor, so much more energy, and no longer worry about my performance. New Male treated me like my situation was one of a kind, with a custom treatment plan that really works. I feel great. They can create one for you too. It does not matter if you suffer from low testosterone, erectile dysfunction, or just want to last longer. New Male will help you.
Call New Male Medical Center today at 352-404-4779. 352-404-4779. That's 352-404-4779. It will change your life. 352-404-4779.
Here's what you may have missed on the John Tesh Radio Show.
Over 40% of women surveyed will check out your LinkedIn to see how you're doing job-wise. But stuffing your anger down isn't the answer either. In fact, that makes blood pressure skyrocket even more than screaming. Instead, go for a run. The latest coverage options are heavy-duty, designed to conceal even the biggest and baddest tattoos while still looking natural.
Intelligence for your life on the John Tesh Radio Show. Don't miss this stuff.
All right, it's 6 minutes before 11 o'clock. Thank you for tuning in. Pat Toth-Smith is our guest. Wild Among Us, True Adventures of a Female Wildlife Photographer. Pat, would the female photographer have a different experience than the male photographer?
Yeah, well, it's definitely a very male-dominated profession. So it's quite interesting because when it's kind of it's kind of an isolated profession, but sometimes I am involved where I will see other males, professional males, and first there's because of this large male energy, I always feel a little bit taken aback. But there's always common threads. Like we'll start talking about equipment, and that's always a common common thread. And, once you get onto the equipment, everything's fine. And then they usually accept me when they see how serious I am. But, there's the other aspect of being a woman traveling alone that I can never completely trust everybody I'm around.
No, and don't.
I started this.
My father would tell you, and I'll tell you, don't trust anybody.
Well, when you're traveling on the freeways alone, I was in my early 30s when I started this, and, people would just do things like, beep at you, play with you, and I've had some really awful experiences where I was almost pulled into a car and things like that.
Oh.
And I hate to sound, it can be, and then you're hiking on the trails alone, it's camping alone. So, I actually, people laugh, but I model my behavior on a coyote. Because the coyotes kind of slink in and out unnoticed, before. And, they've been able to proliferate all over the United States. But, they're just an animal that I model my behavior on because I just try to be very cautious, as I said earlier.
I wonder what animal I should model my behavior on. I'm thinking the moose right now. I'm thinking the moose.
When did you decide to go up to see the polar bears? Because you have some wonderful photos, and they're the bears, the mom and the baby.
Yeah, actually, it was kind of a last-minute thing. I got into a tour up there in 2010, and it was amazing. Oh, my gosh. Actually, that's what inspired me to write my book, because I had pursued bears, North American bears, for over 10, 12 years, and it sort of completed a circle for me, seeing the polar bears. And, it's quite an amazing experience because, you're on these elevated tundra buggies, so you can get within 4 feet of the of a bear.
Wow.
What's a tundra buggy? What is
they litter.
Is that a car?
What it is they use the chassis of a fire engine, and then it has these big elevated tire the treadmill type tires to drive around on. Yeah, and it puts you up really high, higher than the bears, and then the bears jump on the side of the buggy, and so you can just sort of. Yeah,
you can feed them.
Wow!
Throw them cookies.
So is the personality of a polar bear different than the personality of a brown bear, or is the only difference the color? I mean, is there a difference in them?
Yeah, there is a big difference. Polar bears are a complete carnivore, and what happens in Churchill, Canada? Yeah, they're a complete carnivore, so they're very dangerous to run into, and that's why they bring you in on these tundra buggies, because they will attack you. They're a bear that will do that. Whereas grizzly and black bears generally eat different kinds of food too, so they're not as aggressive to you. But the polar bears just eat when they go out on the ice. They go out and hunt their favorite animal, seal. So they wait around for the ice to freeze to go out. And so there's a lot of downtime. And so these bears will play. They'll play fight. They'll be hanging out. It's kind of amazing to see them. But they're a bigger bear. You wouldn't realize it, but their paws can be 12 to 13 inches wide, just their paw.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah.
By the way, I just Googled tundra buggy.
Uh-huh.
I'm going to get one.
Uh-huh.
This is better than a Humvee. This is way better than a Humvee.
With your moose fight.
Does it have women in parkas on it?
You could fit plenty of women in parkas. Yeah. What attracts the bears to it? Are you guys feeding them? What's going on in these pictures?
I'm gonna tell you something. They would feed us all this great Italian food on the tundra buggy, and I swear they would smell this wonderful, chicken cacciatore.
Oh, they knew there was food on there. Well, you're fun. Pat Toth-Smith, we're almost out of time, but I want to make sure we give people information so they can get the book. It's a beautiful book. It's called Wild Among Us. We actually have one here. We hate to give it away, but we will. Call me if you want the one that was sent to us, and it's yours. But the rest of us have to go buy it. Do you have a website?
I do. My website is Toth-Smith-Photography.com, and it's also available at Barnes & Noble and Amazon, and it's also available as softcover, hardcover, and I have actually 2 ebook versions, an iBook and also a Kindle. which is mainly my stories and the photos. So, but yeah.
So I
had a lot of fun. You guys are great.
Listen to this. I just went to your website, Toth-Smith-photography.com, and I know you have nothing to do with it, but on the left side, there's an ad that says, "Fall in love with Asian women." That's what it says. There's an ad space on your website.
That's her next journalistic assignment.
Pat, thank you so much for being with us today. That was fun.
Fox News Radio, I'm Lillian Wu. The Supreme Court's just handed the Obama administration a big win in the healthcare fight, ruling that the Affordable Care Act did not restrict the subsidies to states that establish their own online healthcare exchanges.
In an opinion authored by the Chief Justice and joined by Kennedy, Ginsburg, Breyer, Sotomayor, and Kagan, that those subsidies